All right, let's jump right in. We usually think of the Bible as, a library of different books, stories, laws, poems, all separate. But what if it's not? What if it's actually one single epic story about an architectural blueprint? A story that kicks off in a garden, moves into a tent, then a building, then a person, and finally it explodes to fill the entire cosmos. Today we're going to trace the story of that one building, the temple. So let's just start with this question. What if we reread the whole thing, from Genesis to Revelation, not as a story about how our souls get to heaven, but as the story of God building his home with us, right here on earth? I mean, that's a total paradigm shift. It really changes everything. So to really get a handle on the final building, we have to go all the way back to the original blueprint. And here's the twist. That blueprint wasn't a building at all. It was a garden. But this was a very, very special kind of garden, in a very specific place. See, in ancient thought, Eden wasn't just some nice plot of land with good fruit. No, it was understood as the cosmic mountain. It was the one spot on the map where two dimensions, heaven and earth, perfectly overlapped. You can think of it as the ultimate interface, where God's pure air could perfectly integrate with humanity's hardware. And if you look at the details, this prototype had all the elements of a temple. The geography? It had raw materials like gold and onyx, the same stuff used in the temple later on. The personnel? Adam and Eve? They weren't just gardeners. The Hebrew words for their job, abad and shamar, are the exact same technical terms used for priests who guard a holy sanctuary. Their whole job was to expand this holy space. But, well, then came the failure. The image of God, the tselem, was fractured, and humanity, once the priest-king of this mountain, was reduced to afar, which just means dust, and they were exiled. So that failure creates this massive problem, right? How can a perfectly holy God, whose presence is like pure energy, live with a fractured, fragile humanity? This new reality demanded a whole new kind of architectural solution. And I love how this slide puts it, it's a high-voltage problem. God's presence is pure power. Our dust flesh just can't handle that kind of current without some kind of insulation. A direct connection would be, well, catastrophic. So they needed a really clever workaround. And that's where the tabernacle comes in. This thing was an absolutely brilliant piece of engineering. It was basically a portable miniature Eden, a microcosmos, a small-scale model of the universe that was designed to be a safe zone. It was a temporary, mobile overlap where God's presence could travel with his people without, completely frying them. But here's the thing. While God was handing down the blueprints for these incredible portable sanctuary, humanity was off doing what it always does, building its own counterfeit versions. This right here is a ziggurat from Babylon. It's a man-made mountain temple, an attempt to climb up to heaven through their own effort, on their own terms. It's the total opposite of the tabernacle, which was all about God coming down to live with us. Okay, this chart really lays it all out. You can see exactly how that original Eden blueprint gets miniaturized. The raw gold and onyx that were just lying around in the mountain, now they're polished into these beautiful gems on the high priest's breastplate. The brilliant light of God's presence, it's now symbolized by the menorah, which was a golden almond tree, a little nod back to the tree of life. The role of that priest-king, the tselem, it's now focused on just one person, the high priest. And the garden itself, it becomes this little micro-tent. But this is where the story just takes a wild turn. The ultimate solution to that high-voltage problem, it wasn't going to be a tent or even a stone building. The architecture itself was about to become biological. And this verse right here is the pivot point for the whole story. John 1:14 literally says, "The Word became flesh and pitched his tent or tabernacled among us." Get this, Jesus himself became the walking, talking, breathing, dwelling place of God. He was the high-voltage presence in human hardware. He didn't need a temple. He was the temple. The geography of the crucifixion is it's so profound. Jesus died without the gate, outside the official holy space of the Jerusalem temple. By doing that, he effectively shattered the physical walls of that one building and consecrated the entire world as the new sanctuary. The holy ground just exploded from one single location to everywhere. And that changes the whole point of everything. The old way of thinking is all about getting my personal ticket to heaven after I die. But this temple view, it's about my recommissioning as a living stone right now. The problem isn't just that I broke a rule, it's that I lost my job, my vocation as a priest king. And the result isn't just that I'm forgiven so I can wait around, it's that I'm made clean, sanitized, so I can start my job of expanding Eden right here, right now, as part of this new global temple. So, if the temple is now the whole world, what's the final phase of construction look like? Well, the blueprint isn't done yet. It goes from global to cosmic. The book of Revelation gives us this picture of the final city, the New Jerusalem, and it's a perfect cube. Now, why on earth is that shape so important? We'll think back. In the old tabernacle and temple, only one room was a perfect cube, the Holy of Holies, the most sacred space, where God's presence was. This geometry is telling us something incredible. In the end, the entire city, the entire new creation, is the Holy of Holies. The original prototype has finally expanded to cover the macrocosmos. And if we look back at our chart one last time, you can see it all just comes together perfectly. The gemstone materials aren't just decorations on a priest's suit anymore. They are the actual foundations of the new universe. The light? It's no longer a lampstand. The Lamb himself is the light. The personnel? Not a single high priest, but a royal priesthood made up of everyone. And the space has gone from a tiny micro-tent to a universal cube. It's all come full circle. Okay, I know this all sounds unbelievably grand and cosmic, but the most stunning part of this whole architectural story is that it becomes deeply, radically personal. What in the world does this have to do with you? Well, think about this recurring theme of stones. In Eden, they were just raw materials in the dirt. In the tabernacle, they were polished gems on the priest's chest, representing the people of Israel. But in the New Jerusalem, the stones are us. The Apostle Peter literally says we are living stones. The entire biblical story has been about God taking dust and painstakingly polishing it into gemstones, people who can handle his presence forever and become the actual building blocks of his new creation. So, what does it actually mean to be a priest today, right now? The source material gives us this beautiful, simple three-step model. First, you breathe in God's presence, his pure air, through praise and allegiance. Second, your life burns as a living sacrifice of love and service. And third, the smoke, the aroma of that life, fills the territory around you, literally changing the atmosphere of your home, your office, your neighborhood. And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway. This story isn't just about saving souls for some future place. It's about remapping the geography of right here, right now. Every act of love, every moment of creativity, every word of truth, it's an act of construction. You are a mobile sanctuary, expanding the borders of even one conversation, one relationship, one community at a time. So the final question isn't just, are you saved? It's, what are you building?